Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Season of Heathens, where I share my experiences of abuse and control from my time in a religious cult, the Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church. Today we're talking about how I left my abuser. Trigger warning. This video contains descriptions of abuse and pregnancy loss that may be harmful or triggering to some viewers, so please feel free to skip this one in the interest of self-care. I'll catch you in the next video. Disclaimer. Leaving an abuser rapidly increases the risk of physical harm and death. This video is not advice on how to leave your abuser. There were times I openly confronted him, and in retrospect, it could have potentially made things much worse for myself and my kids. I'm including information below for those who may need help creating a safe plan to get out of an abusive situation, including YouTube channels that help me understand that what I was dealing with was abuse. Viewers who take this video as advice do so at their own risk. You can't advocate for yourself if you're dead. In a previous video, 10 Years in a Fundamentalist Christian Cult, my story, I briefly touched on when my kids and I were catapulted out of our situation and into abrupt freedom from our abuser. So let's rewind the story a little bit. When my ex canceled his divorce proceedings and was trying to convince me that he was a changed man, that God had forgiven him, and we needed to get back together because God wanted us to. I was still very raw and mad, but I felt the pressure of the church and my own religious guilt, and I cautiously allowed reconciliation to begin. Nard was renting a small house in a rough part of town at the time. Nard was in a giant hurry to have his comfortable life back, and texts from his mom showed that she was angry with me for not letting him move back in immediately. I wanted him to show me that he had actually changed and not just give me words. I let him come over for dinner one day to spend time with all of us. He was on his best, most charming behavior, and ultimately I invited him to spend the night. One night became two became four, and so on. I'm sure you can see where this is going. I was uneasy, even though I was constantly being told that this was the right thing to do, and I was glorifying God by staying in my marriage. Shortly after, I found out I was pregnant with number 5. Everything was pulled into sharp focus with a pain I could physically feel. All I could think of was that I was bringing a tiny baby into this circus, this madness that my ex had created. I was suddenly very afraid. I told Nard, who of course was thrilled, but then immediately told him I needed space and for him to go back to his rental. He responded by slamming a glass candle on the counter next to me, cutting himself in the process. In the following months, I asked for a divorce countless times. We were obviously unhappy, nothing had changed, and it would be amicable. No hard feelings. Every time, Nard told me that we would not get divorced, as if I had no say in the matter. I felt like a caged animal waiting for the slaughter. I continued documenting. I took pictures of his prescription fentanyl patches and morphine pills left on the countertops within reach of our toddler, him falling asleep on the floor after trying to push through his Ambien so he could play video games, burnt and blackened food in the microwave when he would try to cook food under the influence but would fall asleep before he could eat it. I kept as much of our conversations to text. When I couldn't, I recorded it. Due to his cheating, we had started using the program Covenant Eyes to keep him accountable. It's a clunky program, but I was able to see everything on all his devices. This included illegal and hateful suggestions from his fundy family, like not providing grocery money after he removed me from our joint bank account, and suggesting I beg for money from my mom, that I and the kids should move in with my brother, sharing 2 rooms, while my ex stayed in the family home without repercussion. There were many other horrible things I read, and it was heartbreaking to see how they would allow my children to suffer just to punish me. It's true what they say. There's no hate like Christian love. I'd been watching videos on YouTube about religious abuse and narcissism when he wasn't around. I would watch them with the volume off and closed captions so I wouldn't be overheard. This is largely why I ensure captions are on and accurate in my videos. I use the incognito function often. I joined internet forums and learned that I wasn't alone, that maybe I wasn't crazy after all. I tried very hard not to change my behavior too much once I saw him as he truly was, a coward and an abuser. It was hard. There were times I stood up to him knowing he would take it out on the kids, so I stood in between them and I raised my voice even louder. I drew a line in the sand. Things got worse as my anger rose. There was one time we were in the church parking lot when he told me he would slap my number 2 child if they didn't start speaking to him with respect. I spun on him and shouted that if he laid a finger on them, I would have the law on him so fast his head would spin. People were milling about trying to get into the building, and I didn't care. He never brought it up again, and he never laid a hand on them. At this point, my number 2 child openly despised me. They had been turned against me over time by Nard. Every interaction with them was sarcastic and acidic. When they looked at me, I only saw hate. I was broken but pushed through. I knew this wasn't who they were. Throughout all of this, I began miscarrying my pregnancy. I was passing large clots constantly and spent more and more time in the bathroom to not make a mess. After weeks of this, I finally went to the ER. I was told that, had I waited any longer, I would have needed a blood transfusion. When I was discharged, I nearly passed out in the parking lot while waiting for Nard to pick me up. Back at home, I felt dirty and gross. I had left a trail of blood in the ER waiting to be seen, and I needed a shower, but I was still very weak. I asked my ex to sit with me in the bathroom in case I passed out. He refused, wanting to watch the presidential election on Fox News. I prayed to God to hold me up long enough to wash the blood off of me. I was still bleeding, and the water at my feet was almost black. It was then that I realized that Nard didn't care if I died. I never meant anything more to him than a means to an end, and my life was worthless to him. My body was able to heal after I went to the hospital. Truthfully, I was relieved that I had miscarried. Fundies are fond of saying, "The Lord gives and He takes away," when they don't really have anything meaningful to say when someone experiences loss, and at the time I often wondered if God terminated my pregnancy to show me Nard's true self. Either way, I'm thankful for the reality check. The child would have been about 6 years old by now. Would I still be married to Nard? Where would we be if I'd had another baby? I'm thankful that I don't have to know the answer to those questions. As I regained my strength, things with Nard were hitting a fever pitch. I was fed up with his attitude, his exhausting circular arguments, and his gaslighting. The more I listened to abuse podcasts and participated in forums, the angrier I became. Everything he did was a calculated and cruel move to maintain control through fear, and I'd had enough. I told my family that I wanted out, and the initial plan was to move important things to my brother's house little by little until one day Nard would come home and we would simply be gone. I was terrified. In the meantime, I prayed constantly for God to deliver us. I continued documenting and employed the gray rock method in the hopes that he wouldn't see me preparing to leave. I don't think he would have noticed anyway. He was so absorbed in his video games and himself. As abusers tend to be, Nard was sloppy and overconfident. When he saw that he could no longer control me with fear and intimidation, he moved on to the next natural step for abusers. He became physical. There are a few circumstances in my life that, to me, can't be explained rationally. I respect everyone's personal beliefs and what brought them to that place. For me personally, I no longer attend church in any capacity, but I consider myself spiritual. I believe in God, and I feel deeply that we are called to put love and kindness into the world. Some things just can't be explained. For me, it was the night Nard was arrested. We had dogs, and their food bowls were always in the kitchen, and always had been. That's where they are to this day. I don't know how they came to be in my bathroom that night, nor who put them there. As I mentioned earlier, I had been recording my interactions with Nard. When push came to shove, literally, I fell over the dog bowls, causing a loud, clanging noise. When I replayed the audio for the police later, they both nodded in unison as if waiting for the confirmation they needed to arrest him. That night, after Nard assaulted me, I locked myself into my closet and heard him demand his guns back. I had hidden them away weeks ago at the urging of my family, my counselors, and the few friends I had outside of the church. As I listened to my ex walk away, I called my mom. She didn't answer. I called my crisis counselor. They didn't answer. It was past midnight, so I don't blame them for not hearing it. Then I heard a voice in my head telling me, "What are you doing? Call the cops now!" And so I did. I called the non-emergency line, still somehow believing that I was wrong. I told the operator that if they sent out the police and nothing happened, it would be worse for us than if they didn't come at all. When the police officer asked me if I wanted to press charges, I froze. All I could think about was how much trouble the kids and I would be in if I did. He saw my fear and said, almost nonchalantly, that if I didn't press charges, then the county would. I nearly laughed out loud when he said it because my relief was so great. We were free. My prayers had been answered. I was given an emergency restraining order for 3 months, and Nard was taken to jail. I was given a little packet from the police. It was small enough to fit in my purse and had my victim's advocate number with my case information. It told me my rights and who to contact for anything I might need. It had the officer's name and badge number. I carried it with me for over a year. It felt like a talisman for me, a lucky charm, reassuring me that I did the right thing and that I was believed. I thought of that officer constantly. He helped me. Church people didn't believe me, but he did. My doctor believed me, but really all she could do was prescribe antidepressants to hopefully take the edge off. My counselors believed me, but maybe it was in my head. Maybe I had overblown the entire situation because I was really sick in the head or had sin issues or I didn't trust God enough. Having that little packet showed me that I wasn't crazy, and what Nard had done to us was horrible and wrong. That's not to say my story ends there and everything was smooth sailing from then on. It wasn't. Nard harassed me continually via text. He sent men from his church to talk to me at my door. He told me that he would be moving back home when the EPO expired. He left me notes on my car. I reported all of this to my victim's advocate at the police station and started blocking former friends who cared more about appearances than the safety of my family. Along with monitoring Nard's phone, I was also keeping a close eye on the phone my older children used. I came across this note my number 2 child wrote, the one who seemingly hated me, the night Nard put his hands on me and was arrested. It reads, "How could someone be that brutish? Not sure what he's talking about. Said, yeah, you are being childish. I'm not going to be childish like you. It's all about you, isn't it? No, I believe it's all about you." Was yelling at her. He is two-faced. I think he is two-faced. He doesn't deserve respect. He is suave. We're not playing buddy-buddy anymore. Not anymore. I gave you a chance. You blew it. The end. And I will find the reasons to not give you respect. Don't try being nice. I'm not a moron anymore. Changed my mind. You're acting. What the heck is going on? I am grateful to say that my relationship with my child was finally able to heal after the arrest. I tell you all of this because nobody, not even your God-ordained spouse, has the right to make you feel afraid and unsafe. You deserve to be loved, respected, and cherished. God does not approve of his children being hurt by small men with frail egos. You deserve to live your life in peace and wholeness, without waiting for the other shoe to drop, without walking on eggshells. There is no fear in true love, and any God or religion that allows it only cares about your unquestioning obedience. Using fear to control those you are commanded by God to care for is the mark of a coward. If the church says I'm going to hell for divorcing Nard, then I will gladly spend eternity watching him burn along with me. That's all for today. I hope you learned something new about religious abuse, or that it validated your own experience. If you would like to hear more, please like and subscribe. It helps me reach viewers who could be helped on their own journey. Speaking truth is the first step to healing. Your story is my story, and those of countless others. If you would like to share yours, email me at seasonofheathens@gmail.com. All submissions are kept anonymous unless otherwise requested and may be shared on my channel. Thank you for listening in today. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you next time.